But you don't believe that any women were sexually abused?
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
But before that, I just want to mention something about because that's important. This is the pictures. You know this picture, right?
Is this burnt out cars after October 7th?
Yes. Okay. This is the parent. All right. And then we should believe that Hamas went in with AK-47 and caused that kind of damage.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Z's Political Couch. Today's For Your Debate, we have part 3 of 3. I hope you're all caught up with parts 1 and 2. If not, I will attach it at the end of this video for you all to catch up on. We're diving into a heated exchange between Piers and Bassem on Israel-Hamas War. Bassem's sarcastic yet sharp commentary hits hard, where Piers tries to hold on to his well-rehearsed, fact-driven stance. Who's really winning this debate? Let's see who cuts through the noise and who gets tangled in their own contradictions.
Have you seen the footage of them actually going car by car doing that kind of thing?
Yeah, but they didn't. This is burn and destroy.
How do you know how many they did?
Does this look like AK-47 thing?
Looks like a bunch of cars have been set on fire, yeah.
Yeah, set on fire. Okay, then a few, I know...
What's your argument, the Israelis did all that themselves?
This is pictures for something called the Highway of Death from Iraq. Mm-hmm. This is the same thing. This is Apaches. These are Apaches, right? So this is actually cars.
Right, but have you seen the footage of Hamas going car to car?
Yeah, killing them with machine guns.
And setting fire to the cars?
Yeah, but that is not the
actually, that is exactly how they...
Yeah, that is like a car of an Apache. These are the Apaches.
Well, it's also the look of a car that's been set on fire.
Yeah, but that doesn't cause that kind of generation.
You're just surmising. You're guessing.
No, I'm not guessing.
Why are you trying to excuse what Hamas did?
One of them is I'm not excusing.
Right.
I'm talking about facts.
Well, these aren't facts. This is just you saying. Well, look at these pictures. Look at those. They look quite similar.
At least.
Have you seen many burned out cars in your life? Because I have.
Really, and I have too. In the revolution, I had many. Yeah, but that's.
And they didn't look like that.
But this is Apaches.
Or it's burnt out cars.
So many burnt cars with them.
There were a lot. They went car to car to car.
Yeah,
they were literally stopping cars and killing people and burning them.
Interesting, yes.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't you believe it? They wanted us to believe that. They wanted to show the world that.
Well, at least there is a shred of doubt.
It seems, there's not really. What you're trying to do, Bassem, and I understand it, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to put a little protective shield up to what Hamas did. And my response is, I don't know why you would do that, because Hamas didn't want any protective shield to what they were doing. They were gleeful about it. They showed the world in live streaming exactly what they were doing. They were proud of their depravity. You don't need to defend it
I'm not defending it
or downgrade.
It'd be nice if Piers allows Bassem to finish his point. Here's where we see the tension building. Piers is trying to downplay Bassem's doubt about the evidence of Hamas's atrocity. Yet Bassem isn't buying into Piers' certainty. Hypocrisy alert, Piers keeps hammering home the quote-unquote facts. But when it comes to Israeli actions, he conveniently ignores the broader context. This isn't about the truth. It's about aligning with the narrative that's convenient for Western powers. Take note though, while Piers stays glued to quote-unquote proof, he's not acknowledging the broader question of war crimes or the lack of evidence on certain allegations, which Bassem smartly points out. Classic deflection, anyone?
Diminish it,
I'm talking
or
about
reduce
facts.
it.
I'm talking.
Well, let's talk about your claim that you don't think any women were sexually abused.
Yes. Well, the Times of London, which is a right-leaning newspaper, talked about the UN report, and they said Pramila Patten, who confirmed Israeli authorities were unable to provide much of the evidence that political leaders had insisted existed in all the Hamas video footage Patten's team had watched and all the photographs they had seen. There were no depiction of rape. We hired a leading Israeli dark web researcher to look for evidence of those images, including footage deleted from public sources. None could be found. And Patten said the first letter that I received from the government of Israel talked about hundreds of thousands of cases of brutal sexual violence perpetrated against men, women, and children. I have not found anything of that. That is the UN report.
Well, the same UN Special Representative, Pramila Patten, reported in March 24 that there was, quotes, clear and convincing information that Israeli hostages in Gaza experienced sexual violence, including rape, sexualized torture, and cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment. That there are reasonable grounds to believe such abuse is ongoing. And there was also, her quotes, reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence occurred during the 7th of October attacks in multiple locations across Gaza periphery, including rape and gang rape in at least 3 locations.
But the same commission said has refused testimonies obtained by journalists and the Israeli police. I mean, I'm reading the same report.
It's the same woman.
And I'm reading the same woman.
March 2024. So my point is, you're reading selectively from that report.
And you're reading selectively too?
I'm reading a point which actually crystal clear that there was sexual abuse and violence both on October the 7th and indeed to hostages, which may be ongoing.
No, I've read the whole report. And then what you say...
Well, why haven't you read that?
I've read that.
But if you read that, you would include that.
But if you read that, you'll include that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the thing, you see what you're saying here? That
Well, no, you're just not reading that out.
Piers, the thing is like...
I have great respect for you, Bassem. If you're going to use a woman's quotes to prove your point, you've got to use the rest of the quotes where she actually proves the opposite.
Yeah, but in the same report, they said that all of this was not provided by the Israeli, any forensic evidence that proved that. It's mostly witnesses that was provided
Clear
by
and
the
convincing information. Reasonable grounds
So
to
what
believe.
but there was no... It was written and there's
I've
nothing...
also read people like Christina Lamb, one of the best war correspondents in the world, who writes for the Sunday Times, who has done some stunning journalism with victims of this abuse, female victims of the sexual abuse and rape. I mean, are you saying she's just made that up? Is she lying? She's an award-winning journalist. Why would she?
Well, also Gettleman, Jeffrey Gettleman, who's award-winning journalist of the New York Times, who wrote the Screams Without Voices, or Screams Without Words. His article was completely panned by 60 journalists who said that article was a shame.
But are you saying that Christina Lamb just made her reporting up?
I don't know who's Christina Lamb.
You've never heard of her?
No.
Here's where Bassem really starts to expose Piers' biases. While Piers tries to poke holes in Bassem's argument, he's selectively reading reports to fit his narrative. He dismisses credible journalists, yet he expects us to believe his side of the story without question. If you're cherry-picking facts to fit your agenda, then you're not actually seeking the truth, you're just pushing propaganda. Bassem isn't backing down, and rightly so. This is where the gloves come off.
Literally one of the top war correspondents in the world, renowned for her utter impartiality.
Yeah, but the thing is...
From a series of reports of women who were raped and abused by Hamas, and continue to be so, the hostages. And you don't believe any of it? You think none of it's happened?
No, I don't believe.
You see, I find that disheartening that you wouldn't believe that.
No, I don't believe it. And the thing
it makes me think, Bassem, that, and I listen, I say to you, I have great respect for you, but it makes me think you look at it through such a partisan prism that you can't, even when confronted with obvious
I just confronted you with the same reports.
Well, yeah, but you said...
I showed you had the Hannibal report.
But the point you're trying to make is, well, all these cars were obviously blown up by Israel. Hamas didn't do that to any of them. Hamas didn't rape or abuse any women. And it's all bullshit. Of course they did.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
You know it.
No.
In your heart, you know
I don't think so.
But you don't want to concede an inch.
No.
And understand why, because you think that actually the bigger picture is that Israel's behaved like this for so long towards the Palestinians with their occupation, apartheid.
But we never know. As a matter of fact, we have the Israelis raping Palestinians on camera.
But you think it diminishes your argument if you give an inch to any of this stuff? My point to you, it would actually, I think it would strengthen you, not diminish you, if you were able to concede these things had happened, rather than try and defend it or try and excuse it or pretend it didn't happen.
This particular point, Piers, has been debated by so many people on both sides.
The woman you quoted, I've literally just read to you.
And I've just written some.
You didn't read out what she's actually
and you didn't read out mine. So that means that this is a very conflicting report at best. All right. And the thing is, many of those witnesses, like Rhys Cohen and Sherry Mendes, they have changed their testimonies many times, and they made their way all the way to Tapper, on his show, and he has been laundering the whole idea about the mass rape day after day. And nobody, even the New York Times, they were going to make a podcast, The Daily, about that article, and they withdrew because there's not enough evidence. Let's say I'm wrong. Let's say that all of that is wrong. Isn't that at least a shred of doubt that we should investigate this further? Because in that report, Pamela Patton said that we send 5 requests to the Israeli authorities and 1 request to the Palestinian authorities, and none of our requests in the Palestinian...
But as I read to you, she then goes on to say there's clear and convincing information of hostages, Israeli hostages, having sexual violence, including rape, sexualized torture.
And also the Commission was also unable to verify reports of sexualized torture and genital mutilation. Additionally, the Commission found some specific allegations to be false, inaccurate, or contradictory with other evidence or statements and discounted these from its assessment.
But what is the central point of your argument is that Hamas are not quite as bad as we thought on October 7th?
No, I don't care about Hamas. I care about the Palestinian people killed every day.
How can you not care about Hamas?
The thing, you know what? Hamas is terrible, man. He's there a horrible rapist.
Hamas...
You know what? Hamas did everything.
Right,
Hamas did all of that.
Let me ask
Hamas did all of that.
Should Hamas retain any power coming out of this in Gaza?
I don't know if any of them will be left.
But should they retain power in principle?
I don't. It's up to the Palestinian people to
What do you
it.
think?
I don't know Hamas. By the way, I told you before, I'm not a big fan of Hamas. As a matter of fact, Hamas being an Islamic faction, I'm not a big fan of
What about
their
Hezbollah?
project. Same. I'm not a big fan of them either. But you should not punish a whole group of people, a whole population, because a militant group that is embedded within the population did some atrocities. Israel has the absolute ability to locate and kill people through their satellite, and they have. There is no excuse for blowing up empty universities or mosques or churches or destroying 90% of the infrastructure of a place.
Now Bassem drops a truth bomb that Piers can't quite wrap his head around. Why is it so hard to recognize that both sides are at fault in this conflict? Piers can't seem to accept that Israel's collective punishment in Gaza is contributing to the escalation. Bassem's frustration is clear. He's not justifying Hamas, but calling out Israel's disproportionate response. And Piers, in his desperate need to defend Israel, ignores the fact that one-sided approach only fuels the cycle of violence. This is about balance, but Piers can't find it.
No matter what they did, because the people who did it, they're horrible, they are zombies, they're crazy, they're terrorists. You should not punish a whole people. That's collective punishment.
So let me ask you, I don't disagree with some of what you just said.
Okay.
I do think there's been a collective punishment. I think it's wrong. I think it's gone way too far. I think that Gaza has just been systematically destroyed. And I have no idea what the plan is for after this, because the Israelis don't seem to have a plan. And it worries me enormously now, the rhetoric about going after the Iranian regime and where that will lead because of the way that global politics is working in relation to Iran. But these are, big picture issues. We may get time for that. Let me ask you specifically about the Jerusalem Post, who've accused you repeatedly of anti-Semitism. What do you say to that? I mean,
Well, everybody is an anti-Semite in the eyes of Israel.
do you think you are or not?
What is anti-Semitism?
Somebody who has a hatred of Jewish people because of their Jewish ethnicity?
Good. Where did I show that kind
I'm
of
just
hatred
asking
to
if
Jewish
you.
people?
How do you feel about Jewish people?
I mean, should I go to do the white man thing? Like, most of my friends are Jewish.
No. How do you feel about Jewish people?
Like any other people. Like any other people. What are you talking about?
When you've been accused of
So I've been accused of being a CIA
I'm not saying you're
operative.
guilty. I'm just saying you've
No,
been
no, I've been
accused
accused of so many things. You've been accused of so many things
Of course.
too, right?
And it's annoying.
Like, and then the thing is, anti-Semitism.
not that person.
Anti-Semitism has turned into, if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic.
I agree.
Yeah, so it's
been used as a protective shield against
criticism. It's a way to shut down conversation.
But there are also lots of genuine anti-Semites
Yes,
who do hate Jewish people
of course.
and want to kill them.
And there is a lot of people who hate Muslims, and there's a lot of people who hate gays, and there's a lot of people who hate white people.
Right.
Yeah.
What do we do about where we are with this situation now? What's the solution?
Solution?
Yeah, genuinely.
I mean, I'm not a political analyst, but again, and I'm sorry being one-sided, but there is one side who has all the power, all the money, all of the weapons. They have been controlling the political spectrum. This is how many people in the Congress.
So how do we get to a solution? Do you believe in the idea of
don't know.
Well, do you believe in a two-state solution, for example?
I don't know. I mean, it's not up to me.
Could it work? Could you have a Palestinian state
The way it's
side
done?
by side with an
how
Israeli
would it,
state?
how would it work when Israel is taking all of the West Bank and making cutting
Well, that's
it
what I'm
into
asking you.
smaller Gaza?
How could it work?
Again, I told you a quote from a book by Obama, and I'm telling it again. The problem with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is that one side of them is very powerful and the other side is very weak. Why would Israel concede?
But if Israel has the power, as you say, and I'm not denying they have a lot of power, if they have the power, how should that best be wielded to try and find peace out of all this? I mean, I remember Northern Ireland, right? People said it was intractable. Loyalists and Republicans wanting to kill each other all the time, living side by side in utter enmity. And they did eventually get there. They had fresh leadership and they got there. The terrorists became politicians. They worked it out. They got peace. There is now peace in Northern Ireland when many people for decades didn't think there would be. Did you see any parallels there?
Because the stronger side, which is Britain at the time, they kind of they were reasonable. They didn't go and assassinate the leaders of the IRA, right?
They tried.
They tried, but they didn't.
Yeah, they tried. They did kill a lot of IRA members, yeah.
Yeah, but there's negotiators that you don't kill.
What they didn't do was go and target and attack civilian areas with bombing to kill IRA terrorists.
That's good.
Well, they didn't do what...
So why didn't England do that? Why did they were like IRA terrorists? Why did they go in and just destroy Belfast? Why didn't they do that?
Because their own side were also living in those homes.
Yeah.
They all lived amongst each other.
No, because
What you don't
Because
have in
it's
Gaza.
it's the,
Well, in
because-
Gaza, you don't have Israelis living side by side
So
with Hamas.
wait a minute. So if there were Israelis living, you would protect those lives, but the Palestinians, you
No,
would
I'm
protect
saying
them because
Israel
they're
is
civilians.
obviously is far more unlikely to bomb a civilian population area, even if they think Hamas are lurking inside it, if Israeli people are also living there.
Yes, because they don't
So that's
care.
the difference between that and Northern Ireland, is my point.
Yeah, because they don't care about the Palestinians' lives.
Well, it doesn't involve Israeli lives. But
Yeah.
the analogy with Northern Ireland would be, in that circumstance, it would.
I don't know how can we move forward with one side having all the power and they can. I mean, like if Israel is actually sincere about it, they should end the occupation. I mean, they should do the mildest thing, which is like stop the settlement.
I agree.
They're not.
Somebody asked me, the Palestinian ambassador to the UK said to me, do you think what's been happening with these settlements, expansions in the last year on the West Bank, is that terrorism? I said, yes, it is. To me, it's what's been happening.
Basically,
it's terrorism.
So Israel is committing daily terrorism every single day.
I agree. On the West Bank,
And
I think it's terrorism.
at a certain point, something had to give. And it's terrible, but something had to give. Again, if you treat people like animals, they behave as animals.
That's it for today, everyone. Bassem Youssef delivers a searching critique, while Piers Morgan remains trapped in his narrow, fact-checking echo chamber. What's your take? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more blunt political commentary on Z's Political Couch. Stay tuned